Welcome to the Piqua Board of Education, August 31st, 2017 Board of Education meeting. Would everybody please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the treasurer call the roll, please?
Mr. Bostic.
Here.
Mr. Height.
Here.
Mr. Luby.
Here.
Mr. Gregerson.
Here.
Mr. Patrizio.
Here. Okay. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the minutes. Do I have a motion, or do I have any additions to the July 27th, 2017 meeting minutes, or any corrections? Hearing none, I ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? The minutes have been approved. Moving on to the agenda. Do I have any additions or subtraction to the agenda? Hearing none, I ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
The agenda has been approved. Moving on to item B on our agenda, it's Upper Valley Career Center report. Mr. Luby and Mr. Height.
Well, we've got several things to report. We met Monday evening, and we're going to be updated tonight on the opening of school. We were updated. They were pleased with a very smooth opening. Had a lot of new staff members. They thought that added a lot of energy to the beginning of school. Attendance-wise or enrollment, we've got 914 students this year. That's the most they've ever had. The goal is 1,000. Of course, now the problem with that is, where do we park the cars? So now we're looking at enlarging parking lots. But so it was a good year, a good start to the year, and a lot of new students. Another thing that's going to be happening is the Career Center is going to be hosting a meeting that is going to include legislators and their representatives called an Innovative Schools. So we're going to have a lot of people here to look at what's new in education. We've received a couple grants that are pretty nice. We received a $2,750 grant from Shelby County United Way to use for a guidance program for Shelby County students. We also received another fifth quarter grant, and those funds that we receive on that are used to for the ag teachers that spend the summer with students to fund them. A couple things that are kind of neat. We can't keep him in the district, but this is a good thing. Tony Trapp is going to Chicago to present through Emerson on our apprenticeship program. And so he's going to be one of the featured speakers with that. And also, we are sending a group of students to Germany this year on apprenticeship program. So we had to address some issues on food allowances and things like that for international students. We had in-state and out-of-state allowances, but nothing for international students. So we had to make those changes. So a lot going on in the meeting this week.
Thank you, Mr. Height. Moving on to the item C of the agenda, it's hearing of the public. Agenda items, do we have any members of the public wishing to speak today? Seeing none, we'll move on to the treasurer's agenda.
Good evening. Were there any questions on the financial reports that were included in the board agenda? The next thing that's on there is annual approval of the tuition rate for Piqua City Schools. We do a monthly amount of $593.50 this year. That's something that the state determines as what we charge if someone was coming to us from out of state wanting to attend Piqua City Schools. And those are the only two items that I have this evening on the treasurer's agenda.
Jeremy, question on the tuition rate.
Yep.
Does that fluctuate much from year to year? Is that pretty much in the same ballpark?
It goes up just a few cents.
Cents,
I mean,
we're talking
yeah.
cents.
I think it was 38-cent difference from last year or something like that it increased, so it wasn't much.
Now,
And we don't have anybody who has taken advantage of this.
I was going to say, with open enrollment, how many tuition students do we actually get?
We don't have any. Nope. It's just something that we're annually required to do, but we don't have any students that are, again, with open enrollment. Otherwise, they'd need to be coming from Indiana and driving from from there to here or something, and that it's highly unlikely for that to occur.
Okay. I have a motion to approve the treasurer's agenda.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Treasurer agenda passes. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Each month, the host school gets to do a presentation on the academic updates and programs that they're doing, and this month we're at Springcreek, so would Connie Straley and Ross Loudenbach please come forward, our principals of Springcreek Elementary School.
He's kind of tall next to me, so we're getting used to it. We have had the best start ever. Kindergarten started on the first day, and that was new this year, and I thought it went very well. Of course, we had some criers, but then you have criers no matter when. So, but having the kindergartners come on the first day was a good deal, and I would, hopefully we'll do that some more. Our kids are settling into a routine. We're on day 8, and every day our cafeteria is getting better. The kids are coming in and following the routines that they've been learning. One neat thing that's happened this year is we have sweet corn out back. Jen Everett and her family planted some sweet corn, so every student went out and was able to pick ears of sweet corn. We came in, they microwaved it, and the kids had corn on the cob with butter and salt, and it was very good. Staff members are finishing up their beginning of the year testing, and then also they're preparing their rooms for the professional development of balanced literacy. Now, Ross is going to talk about PBIS.
Yeah, I'd like to echo what Connie says. It's been a great start. Kindergarten has been quite the experience in a good way. As far as PBIS goes, that was a main focus in the building this year, and we've created a PBIS team. We will meet first thing tomorrow morning. We have a lot of things in play to take the building to the next level as far as PBIS, and really reinforcing the pillars of Piqua Pride, which is respect, responsibility, and kindness. We have taken 2 days so far this year and implemented our rotations, teaching those kids the expectations in the building. Not just in the building, but we really are preaching community-wide. We're going to do that again next week and continue that throughout the year. Along with PBIS, we've created a lot of committees to kind of just reinforce the concept behind that. That one being the parent involvement team. We have a lot of academic and social events in line that we created this morning that we're going to put out there to get community and parents and everybody in the building. So we have a lot on the agenda and look forward to it.
We have one funny kindergarten story to tell you. Today, this little boy, in our cafeterias, we have the long tables, and we have colored construction paper at each table, different color according to the color of the class. This one little boy, he sat down way at the far end, and he left this big gap. And I said to him, "Jason, how'd you get there?" "I walked." I'm like, "Oh, okay, Jason." It was hilarious. I walked. Well, then we found out he was in the wrong class, didn't sit where he's supposed to. So it's been very comical with our kindergarten. So thank you.
Thank you. It's good to see all the principals back, and I have to say, I think our school year's started off very smoothly, and I hope it continues to be that way the rest of the year.
Thank you for your presentation. Mr. Lyons will now talk about some new staff updates. We had a few hires since the last time we met, and he'll talk a little bit about that process and introduce some of our new teachers and talk a little bit about them. Mr. Lyons?
Thank you. So we do have some of our new faces here, which we'll do some introductions here. I will tell you that we spent 2 days in August, close to the beginning of the school year, getting together and talking through a lot of the details that you don't necessarily get to hear because it gets to be very much of a hurry for the new teachers once they hit the ground running. So it was a great group. I think we had 23 people in total. Spent a lot of time together, getting to know one another, and then ultimately saying, get out there and go have fun. And Dwayne and I, have had the opportunity to be in every building, and in fact, every one of our new teachers' classrooms over the last 8 days, and it's nice to see that they're all doing well. Now, I know that they probably feel the eyes on them right now, so they're smiling, right? But I can guarantee you they're probably very tired as well, but they've done a nice job getting started and very proud of them. So with us tonight, we have Emily DeBella. There's Emily. We're going to have everybody stand up. She's a bundle of energy. We appreciate her. Megan Peltier on the end there. Julianne Klink. Lindsay Minders. And Kylie Taylor. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for being here this evening. It's great to have you as part of the staff.
Okay, I'm going to cut Tony off here real quick. What school and what grades are you teaching? Okay, very good. Oh, very good. Very good. Well, welcome all of you. It's nice to have you here.
Just to further some back-to-school review, some updates. So far this year, we've welcomed in 3,492 students into our schools. Our transportation department's going really well. We've gotten better with our routes every day. I'm really pleased with what's happened there. They're transporting 2,739 students, which is 78% of our entire student population. To do this, it takes 21 drivers and 21 buses, and they are driving a little over 1,500 miles every day with our students, and that's quite a task. Some have between 60 to 85 students behind them while they're driving. And I know what that's like with my 3 kids behind me, and I can't imagine that many kids behind me. So it's amazing how they're paying attention to the road, focusing, trying to get those kids to follow the rules and do what they need to do, and they're doing all that safely. So really appreciate their work. We're serving about 2,000 lunches a day and 700 breakfasts a day. I think we calculated that's over about 200 million calories we've served to students so far. So they're doing really well with that. Our attendance has been looking really good. We are going to do that at the end of each month and make sure we're reporting that out and taking a look at that. It's going to be a strong focus this year. September is actually Attendance Awareness Month in the state of Ohio, and what they're reporting to us is just 2 absences a month throughout the school year would equal to chronic absenteeism. So trying to get that message out to our parents and our students in terms of the importance of being there, because those hands-on experiences, that communication and engagement they get to have with their peers is more important than just making up work if they've missed. So we want to make sure they're here and getting the maximum benefit of our educational processes. Each building's working on some intervention plans for the students if they fall into the category of that chronic absenteeism, and they're working through that process. Our sports programs are well underway. Our teams are having some really good success so far. Tomorrow night is our first home football game, and we're moving well into the month of September tomorrow.
Very good. I have to say, I have to learn the bus routes. I was running to court. I was running late today. Going down Clark Avenue, and I got stopped by a bus. So I'm waiting. It took a long time for a legitimate reason for this bus to get the students loaded. The bus takes off. I'm going, all right, I can take off now. Up the hill came another bus and stopped me. I got 100 yards, and that was it. So
Yeah.
I have to skip Clark Avenue when I want to speed. So moving on to other items.
No police officer heard that, right?
No good attorney, right?
I'll just note before we go, because I know you guys have worked really hard this first week. If you want to go and you want to leave at this point, you're welcome to leave the board meeting. You're also welcome to stay. You won't hurt anybody's feelings, okay? All right, you're welcome.
No, feel free to
You're
go.
welcome to go. We know you've got some work to do, and you've been working really hard. We appreciate you being here. You're welcome. Yeah. Last on my agenda here is just really focusing on our upcoming levy that we have on November 7th, and wanted to give you some updates as to where we are and make sure people are in sync with what we're explaining in terms of the levy. It is just an emergency operating renewal. There are no new taxes that we're asking for. There's a 0% increase in this levy. We passed this November 7th ballot in our July meeting, and again, this is just a renewal of the existing levy that's already in place. The emergency operating levy is renewed every 5 years, and it was originally passed by the voters of Piqua in 2003 when we were really at a pretty low point in our finances. Around 2001, we had about $860 in our account, and that's really not safe, and it's really unheard of in a district our size. So the board at that time, the superintendent at that time, the citizens all realized that, and graciously in 2003 passed this levy for the first time. It was passed again in 2008 and 2013. There were no increases in the taxes, and that continues with this renewal again, no new taxes. It generates about $2.1 million of our current district operating budget. It would be a critical cut in our budget. So these funds are crucial for us to maintain that stability that we have in order to provide all of those programs that we do for our students. So we want to make sure we communicate that effectively and get the support of our citizens to vote for that again. The request is a renewal. It's not an additional tax, and it's an operating levy that will maintain our current funding levels, and not $1 of this money is going to go to Columbus or Washington, so every dollar that was raised here in Piqua is going to stay here for Piqua students in our community. So it's real important that we point that out so our community understands that point.
I'll just piggyback on that a little bit. I've been on the board now for 6 years. One of the things I've noticed about this board is it doesn't go out and willy-nilly spend money. It's very conservative. We try to get the students what they need. It's not what everybody wants. And if we think there's a legitimate, if there's a legitimate reason to spend the money on things, we will. We have beautiful schools now. This money is important for us to maintain and improve our education system, and at least for myself, I ask that everybody support this levy.
I think a great part of this is the fact that we've got some veteran board members that have been here for at least 12 years. I've been in the district 25, and what I love about this district is it's a district philosophy to be conservative, very transparent with the spending. So as we've transitioned the board members and the superintendent and even treasurer, there's not been a new practice that has come in. It's been a very consistent path, and it's been very well supported by our citizens, and we're so appreciative of that. So it's great that we've had that consistency throughout the years.
Any other board members have anything to say?
Okay, Jeremy?
I sometimes get asked the question, why are we calling this an emergency levy? And one thing is that at the time that this was passed in 2001, well, actually 2003, I should say, 2001 is where we ended with the $856. It was an emergency. We didn't have the funds. We didn't know how we were going to hire. It was an up and down roller coaster. People were getting pink slips, and then they were wondering all summer, do I have a job, and those kind of things. So initially, when this levy was brought into place, we were in an emergency situation. The title emergency levy, though, is just one type of operating levy. So you got to think of it as a type, not that we have an emergency situation now, but that it's just a type of levy, and it's a fixed sum levy. So we've been collecting $2.1 million since 2003. And so that's just the thing that I want to make sure that everybody understood, is that it's not that we are in emergency today. Without it, we could see ourselves back into the same situation that we were in 2001, because you're taking out almost 6% of our operating budget, and that is what this actually equates to. So it's just something to keep in mind. And these things go for classroom expenses, transportation, utilities. You know, our utilities cost almost $900,000 a year when you take that into account for all 5 of our academic buildings, as well as our athletic facilities and our central office. The building grounds and maintenance team, our custodians, supplies, materials, all the supplies, all the materials that are used in the classroom, that this is all paid for by this type of an operating levy. And as well as the student programming and opportunities, and our field trips, athletics, all those different types of things. So those are the things that get paid for through this levy.
In order for us to live within our means and stay within the budget and to not to come back and ask for more money, we've done a lot of different things to be good stewards of this money. So some examples that we've had over the last few years is just rebidding our liability insurance, which is saving us over $200,000 annually. We refinanced the Piqua Junior High School loan bond issue, and that's saving $1 million of the taxpayers' money, and our district will actually pay that bond off 1 year early in 2019, so that tax will actually come off of our taxpayers, which is a great piece that we were able to accomplish. We replaced that 1987 track at Alexander Stadium with our Premier Health Partnership funds, and that was over $619,000, not coming out of taxpayers' dollars. We secured an EPA grant last year that allowed us to purchase 2 buses. We did purchase 4, but 2 of them actually were at no cost to us because of securing that grant. That was $178,000 we were able to save. When we built the new buildings, this is really critical. A lot of districts would go on and do things above and beyond what the state was willing to provide, and they would do what was called a locally funded initiative, so the district would pick up those costs. Our district and our board chose not to do that in our new buildings, so we did stay within that budget, did not pick up additional initiatives, and we just stayed with what the state was willing to fund for us. Our straight A grant with technology, we got well over $1 million, nearly $2 million actually, to provide technology for our students. Our teachers continue to write grants, which is a great piece for us to, again, save some money. We have been able to reduce some staff through attrition, so anytime we find out that there are some reductions in student enrollment and maybe some certain classes at the high school, we find ways to shift that population into different courses, and we've eliminated some positions that really don't match up to the amount of funds that it would cost to put those in place. We're getting more creative with sharing services, so we do share some staff with Upper Valley Career Center. We share some with Piqua Catholic. We use the Miami County Educational Service Center as much as we can to do some of our contracted services, and we've even shared some services with Covington. So in doing that, we've been able to just share those costs, and that's really saved our taxpayers, again, some significant dollars.
I will say this, one thing that you didn't say on there, that the teachers were a part of this also, is redid the health insurance for the district, and although we probably didn't see an initial savings in
Yep.
money, it saved in the amount of increases we would have
Correct.
sustained over a period of time, and that
It's a
saved
good
us
point.
some dollars.
Yeah.
And we should be getting our renewal numbers as far as health insurance within the next 2 weeks. So that'll be a good gauge to see where we're at, as we've been in the HSA program now long enough to sort of create some trends and baselines to be able to determine how that's turning out. That's a good point, Frank. This chart, I got 2 charts coming up that I think are telling tales that I wanted to be able to share with everyone. And the chart that we have up there tonight is the GWalk, our athletic conference, and we thought that would be a good picture to look at just to show, well, where do we fall? I mean, we talk about taxes, and of course nobody really likes to pay taxes, but it's one of those necessary evils. And you look at where we're at, and Piqua is at the bottom when you look at all the school districts that we have up here that are part of our conference. So I just thought it was important for everyone to see that we're in the bottom 4 districts in our conference when it comes to our tax rate. And the next chart that we have is what I like to, I think about Goldilocks and the 3 bears, and sometimes the porridge is too hot, and sometimes it's too cold, and you're looking for the warm porridge. And so when you look at a chart like this and you talk about local revenue and how much is being spent per pupil, we have districts at the top that are spending a lot of local revenue on students, and you've got districts at the bottom, and we're right in the middle, bottom middle of that. And that I think is a tail sign of we're right in the middle, we're right in the right spot for that, because we're spending what we need to spend to be able to give our students the opportunities that they need. We're not spending too much to where we're not being fiscally conservative with taxpayer money, but we're not spending too little to where we're not maybe providing all the things that students need to be successful in the classroom. So looking at that chart, I think that that shows us that we're right in the right spot where we should be when we talk about the funding for our students.
So to summarize, we've really put this operating levy and the funds we have to very good use with some good results, and it's really critical to our budget and maintaining the great things that are happening here in Piqua City Schools. So we're going to continue to get that message out and make sure people understand that it is, again, no new taxes, and make sure we're answering any questions. We do have a drumbeat, which is our community newsletter that will be coming out next week that will have some additional information in it for the citizens. Our website, if you go to www.piqua.org, on the top right-hand side is a link that says vote, and it has information about some frequently asked questions we get, has information about registering to vote, so any citizen can go to that website and get some information. There is a Citizens for Quality Piqua City Schools Committee and a group that's working on this. The co-chairs of that are Sean Ford and Betsy O'Neill, and they certainly can be contacted for any information, and they'll be continuing to work to get information out for us as well. And of course, anybody can contact me at my office or Jeremy Hiddle at the office, just calling the Board of Education. The number's really easy, it's just 773-4321. Call there if you have questions or you want some additional information. We'd be happy to come out and speak to organizations if people want us to do that and make sure, again, we're getting that message out there so people understand what this levy is about.
Thank you.
That's it for my report. On the agenda, I'd like to recommend the board approval of the bus routes. We do this within the first 30 days of the school year, so this board meeting would be when we would do that. So all those routes have been established. They're in effect right now, and this will approve those officially. I'd like to recommend the board approval of the attached request for an overnight trip for outdoor education for the Piqua Central Intermediate School to Glen Helen for September 19th through the 22nd and September 26th through the 29th. This is an annual trip that our fifth graders take. It's fantastic, and they've already been planning this since last year as fourth graders, and the kids are definitely excited about that, as well as our teachers. Recommend board approval of the Piqua Catholic Shared Services Agreement for our food service director. So our food service director will continue to work with Piqua Catholic, again, sharing those services. It certainly helps out Piqua Catholic, it helps us, and she'll be providing them with some of the guidance in terms of the federal programming and the menu options and so on. So good thing for both of our schools. We're happy to do that. And recommend board approval to allow me, the superintendent, to enter into an agreement with Edison State Community College to exchange land parcels after an official land survey is completed. They are currently wrapping that up. There is a parcel of land that is ours that is really close to Edison, and there's a part of Edison's land that is really close to us, and we would like to essentially swap those lands, pretty equal trades, which allows Edison to have that property to do what they need to do, and then this is literally right out the back door of the high school, so it'll be next to us. So as soon as that survey's done, we'll finish up those negotiations and wrap that up, and then that'll give us that land that's actually closer to us, and it can be utilized, I think, better by both of our programs. So with that, that's it.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the superintendent's agenda? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second?
Will the treasurer call the roll, please?
Mr. Bostic.
Aye.
Mr. Gregerson.
Aye.
Mr. Height.
Aye.
Mr. Patrizio.
Aye.
Mr. Luby.
Aye.
And we'll move on to the personnel agenda, and Mr. Lyons, what's new out there?
Well, the new part left early because they've been working so hard the last couple of weeks. You saw, and the one thing I'll point out there is Julianne Klink, the guidance counselor. She's on this agenda. She was one of our very last hires. And then also Rachel Funderburg, whom many of you might know, is coming on as a technology aide with Eric's team back there. So we're excited to have her start next week after the holiday weekend. Additionally, supplemental contracts once again, and a thank you to all of our volunteers who give up so much of their time. And if you are interested in volunteering in the district, it's as simple as contacting the board office. We'll get you fingerprinted and get you active in the buildings. So if there are any questions, I'll be willing to address those. Otherwise, I recommend board approval of the personnel agenda as presented.
Does anyone have any questions about the personnel agenda?
I would just add that we're always looking for good aides that can work with our buses, good bus drivers, people that are interested in that. We're always looking for substitute custodians. So those are key positions that we're looking for, and if anybody out there is interested in that, you can contact Mr. Lyons or myself. We'll get information to you, and we'll make sure we get the proper training in place.
And we do pay for your training.
Saying is they need some people to
We do.
apply, right?
We're
We
yeah.
need some great people that will be great with our kids, yes.
So, I have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second?
Treasurer, call the roll, please.
Mr. Height,
Aye.
Mr. Luby,
Aye.
Mr. Gregerson,
Aye.
Mr. Bostic, Mr. Patrizio.
Aye. On new business items, we have the authorization, we have item 1 is to authorize the treasurer to request a transfer of funds. Mr. Hiddle, do you want to explain that?
Sure.
Why don't you explain the next 2 items, because they kind of
Okay,
are
I'm just having a problem with getting this to go to the next thing. Okay, well, the item I-1 is the request to transfer funds. The construction project has ended, obviously, and there were some remaining funds left over at the end of the construction project. And we had, the PI fund had paid for multiple different items during the construction project that were not covered by the Ohio School Facilities team, specifically widening the road and acquiring the land out here at Springcreek along 36, and plus some other PI type things that we could do in the future with that money. The request is basically to start the conversation with the county auditor's office to see about moving that money from debt service to the PI fund to reimburse those expenses that we incurred for the widening project on 36. And then those remaining funds we could use for additional PI things that are required at our new buildings. So this is just to start that talk. It may or may not happen, but this is a formality to be able to get that process started. Second,
Why don't we just vote on that item initially?
Okay.
So, anybody have any questions about that item? I have a motion to authorize the treasurer to request a transfer of funds from the treasurer of the county.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The authorization is given, Mr. Treasurer. Now we'll move on to the second item.
the second item on there is to approve the memorandum of understanding between Piqua City Schools and the Piqua Public Library. During the audit last year, there was a question raised about some funds that were held in an account, what the purpose of those funds were. And so doing research into what those funds' initial purpose were for, we found that the stock that we held, as well as the funds in that account that we've been putting in there, the dividend funds, actually belonged to a trust that was left with the district. And that trust was to operate a free and public library. And so we have a free and public library. And so this memorandum allows us to work with the library to help with expenses that they may incur operating that free public library. So we're just trying to put the ground marker in so that when we start paying these funds, the auditor's office knows that we have a purpose for them and we've done the research on that.
Just to be clear, these funds were never for the school district. They were set up for the library. The Board of Education was named as trustee. It was set up in 1905, I believe, and the money's just kind of sat there, and last audit, they found the money, and now we're in the process of, what we want to do is help, you know, it is for the library. We want to give it to the library and let them use it for their expenses. Do we have any questions?
And that's a good point, Frank, is that, yeah, the school board is sort of the taxing authority for the public library, so that's why the board ended up with the donation to begin with. And it's just, we had to have a proper mechanism in place to be able to spend those funds.
I have a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding.
So moved.
I may have a second.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we'll move on to the hearing of public non-agenda items. There's nothing listed. I will say that Mr. Gregerson was not able to run as a school board member. I think it's a disservice to our community. I would ask people to contact their state legislature. Too many people are being booted off the ballot when they have appropriate number of signatures. You know, there's one thing about not having enough signatures to run. When you have enough signatures and you have a technical defect, The Board of Elections across the entire state are kicking people off who want to run off the ballot, and they can't even run as a write-in. And there should be a corrective statute for these individuals who have the proper number of signatures. And I just ask people to contact their state representatives and talk to them about having the statute changed to provide this corrective action. It's hard enough to get people to run, but when we have people who get their signatures on a petition and they're booted off, and in our situation, we had one empty spot, so we have write-in candidates for that. I'm actually solicitor in Covington. They had 2 people that were kicked off of their council member seats, and so they have 3 spots that are vacant in Covington on their commission. And it's, you know, like I said, it's hard enough to get good people to run, and something needs to be changed. That's my 2 cents for tonight, so.
That was 3 cents.
All right. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Hey, Frank, I wanted to ask the board, if it's okay, do you want me to go ahead and plan for the staff appreciation lunch?
Absolutely. I think everybody enjoyed that.
I think we're looking at probably, if it's okay with principals, probably sometime in October, and have it done by early November. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.
No,
That's a
I'm trying to
free
work
spot.
with you.